What is going on, Ive Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about why Vegan Gains is wrong about intermittent fasting. I'm going to touch on all the points he made, talk about the studies that he linked below, and provide information as to why he's actually wrong about intermittent fasting. Stay tuned. Alright, quickly before I start, make sure to go to FledgeFitness.com to get the Fledge Fitness jump rope. Trying to let you guys know, because if you haven't gotten it yet, you may miss out because these jump ropes always sell out like crazy. I just got my batch order in and I want to make sure that you guys cop your jump rope. It's only $16.50. You can go ahead and click this card and the link will be in the description below. Super good quality aluminum handle and the swivel system, which makes it an effective speed jump rope. Now I want to go ahead and talk about Vegan Gains points on intermittent fasting. But if I have any viewers that are coming over from Vegan Gains channel, I do want you to know a few things. I don't propose any specific diets. I don't propose a vegan diet or meat eating diet or a keto diet or anything like that. I may go ahead and talk about those diets in terms of beneficial factors for each of them, but I even have videos like this one where I encourage people who are vegan to go ahead and utilize the intermittent fasting protocol. And I even have videos like this one where I show that intermittent fasting is still effective on a high carb diet. So I don't have any diet bias. I simply push the information of intermittent fasting. So I want to get that out of the way so that I can open your minds to this video right here so that you can hear the full breakdown. Now in this video, Vegan Gains is attacking a YouTuber. I believe his name is Chris, and this YouTuber was talking about spot reduction. And I've already said to you guys multiple times, even back in 2016, that you cannot spot reduce parts of your body. Your body will reduce the fat in the way that it sees fit. All you can do is try to get to a low body fat percentage so that you can go ahead and show your abs or show leanness or striations. You have to get to at least below 10%. If you get there, then you will be in a position where you're most likely already showing striations. And usually, unfortunately, your belly fat is one of the last places to go when losing fat. So in terms of spot reduction, I do agree with Vegan Gains that you cannot spot reduce any parts of your body in terms of body fat. However, he also touches on Chris's use of intermittent fasting and fasted workouts. And this is where Vegan Gains drops the ball in his argument. It is clear to me that Vegan Gains is not very interested in the topic of intermittent fasting because he lacks the necessary research or understanding to be able to elaborate on the topic of intermittent fasting when it comes to fasted workouts and what methodology inputs in the study can actually skew the information.
Also, here's a systematic review and meta-analysis on the effects of overnight fasted exercise on weight loss and body composition. The authors found that performing exercise in a fasted state did not influence weight loss or changes in lean and fat mass.
See, overnight fasting is not the same thing as doing intermittent fasting and then fasting in the morning. Chris is doing intermittent fasting and then fasting in the morning. That is completely different from overnight fasting. What makes it different is the post-absorptive range. It takes a person about 8 to 12 hours to get into that fat burning stage. For you to get into that fat burning stage, you have to be fasting for at least that amount of time. And then after that is when you're actually burning fat or doing the fat oxidation during that time period. So after 12 hours is when you're activating those hormonal benefits to burning predominantly fat as your energy. Now, weight loss is still determined by calories in versus calories out. We don't have sufficient scientific data to determine that thermodynamics, which is calories in versus calories out, are not at play at all times. Those elements are there. However, calories come from so many different things in your body. Under our skin, we have over 100,000 calories. Calories can be pulled from muscle, calories can be pulled from glycogen, calories can be pulled from carbs, calories can be pulled from fat. What intermittent fasting does is it mobilizes fat over all other components to burn more fat than someone else who is not manipulating hormonal factors to do the same thing as intermittent fasting. So although intermittent fasting may not provide a weight loss benefit, it does provide a significant fat loss benefit or a reduction in body fat percentage. Here's the thing, Vegan Gains falls into the same trap as all other naysayers of intermittent fasting, is that they select studies that conduct systematic reviews or meta-analysis on studies that are only intermittent fasting in title alone, but not an actual methodology. If you watch this video here, or even this video here, I talk about why the naysayers continue to select those studies, because it's beneficial for them. If the title says intermittent fasting, and if you look at the conclusion and it says intermittent fasting does not provide any significant benefits in terms of weight loss or body fat loss, then you're golden. But if you don't look at the full study and understand what intermittent fasting truly is and the hormonal effects that are happening from intermittent fasting, then you will take those studies at face value. Modified alternate day fasting allows you to eat up to 500 calories on days that you're fasting. That is not intermittent fasting. You can drink smoothies throughout the day to provide yourself with a 500 calorie limit, and you will be stumping that post-absorptive range. Studies with 0 calorie intake, 100% 0 calorie intake, are actual intermittent fasting studies. And if you look at studies like the 16-8 studies that show 2 groups of trained athletes in which significant body fat was lost in the intermittent fasting group, you can see why 0% caloric intake is actually intermittent fasting and garners a different result. You could also look at this study here, which is the OMAD study, that shows that there is a significant body fat reduction, and also there is a significant weight loss reduction, which threatens the laws of thermodynamics a bit, but more studies have to be conducted before anyone can go into the direction that there may be a shift in the thermodynamics. As of now, with the studies that we currently have, we can say that intermittent fasting does provide body fat percentage reduction benefits, but we can't go all the way and say that calories in versus calories out does not matter, because so far they do. Now let's go ahead and get intermittent fasting as a whole out of the way, now that you understand that alternate day fasting studies are not intermittent fasting studies. And Vegan Gains, if you're watching, I challenge you to find a study where intermittent fasting is conducted at 100% capacity with 0 caloric intake on the fasting time frame in a controlled, randomized crossover method where it doesn't show that it provides a reduction in body fat percentage with the intermittent fasting group versus just the caloric restriction group. And keep in mind, these studies that I'm presenting are both groups eating to be at a caloric maintenance. In his systematic review or meta-analysis that he's referencing in the video, that systematic review is just critically flawed. And you can even see in the systematic review for intermittent fasting not providing weight loss benefits or body fat benefits, you can see that the keywords that they use to do this meta-analysis isn't even intermittent fasting. It's energy restriction, alternate day fasting, all of the things that you would use to get the results to populate those modified alternate day fasting studies that allow for the 500 calorie intake. Now moving on to the fasted workouts that I touched on earlier, Chris is actually getting a benefit from his fasted workouts in the morning, because Chris is actually doing intermittent fasting and then working out in the morning, as opposed to someone who is sleeping for 8 hours or 9 hours and then doing a aerobic exercise and then getting a post-exercise meal immediately after the exercise, stumping the ability to go into a post-absorptive range. And I talk about that in this video, in which I talk about Jeff Nippard being wrong about fasted cardio, because he provides the same methodology. The study that Vegan Gains is using actually includes this study right here. That meta-analysis removed all studies except 5, 2 of which looked at fat mass and lean mass. This is one of those 2, and you can clearly see that they were given a meal replacement shake immediately after the workout, never allowing them to get into that post-absorptive range. So you're probably telling me, well, then how can you prove that if you get into this post-absorptive range that it will enhance body fat percentage loss over the fed group? Well, within that same study, if you look at citation number 9 and you click on it, that actually provides a bigger meta-analysis conducted study of over 200 participants, not just 41. 273 participants that are not just all one sex, not just all female, it's mixed with male and female. It actually shows that fat oxidation is increasing the fasting group over the fed group when doing fasted cardio, as well as insulin sensitivity and glucose depletion is increased with this group. Okay, well, that's just telling you about the body fat is burning, but what about the 24-hour span? What's going on the 24-hour span? You can't prove that, Edward. Well, yes, I can. The thing is, a lot of scientists and a lot of researchers try to get approval to do these things, but lack the ability to clear that approval because of the stigmas that come with fasting. Although emerging research is moving us away from that stigma, there are some loopholes in the system that researchers can exploit. What is that loophole? Ramadan fasting. Why is Ramadan fasting a loophole? Because Muslims are a group of people that will do Ramadan regardless of research intervention. So all they have to do is observe them versus Muslims who are not doing Ramadan fasting. And that's exactly what they did. And in the conclusion, you can see that body fat percentage and weight loss was reduced in the Ramadan fasting group that was doing the fasted cardio versus the fed group that was not doing fasted cardio, because they were actually within their post-absorptive range. The fed group did lose weight, but did not lose more body fat percentage than the fasted group. The links to all the studies will be below, but I do want to touch on one more thing that Vegan Gains talked about, which is the nitrogen compound in the body when not consuming carbs and it being detrimental to the body. I feel like he was very misleading in this part, because nitrogen composites in the body actually come from protein. They don't come from carbs and they don't come from fats. They come from protein consumption. That's what provides the nitrogen compound in your body. In the study that he referenced, he said that it shows that not consuming carbs before a workout will reduce your nitrogen compound, but that isn't the case. It drops earlier because of a very low calorie diet, around 500 or so calories. That's also reducing your protein intake. So yes, it is going to drop low, but if you look at the chart that even he presented, it starts off higher for the lower carb group and lower for the higher carb group, and then the lower carb group you can see drops first before the high carb group, which drops second, but then they're essentially in the same spectrum. In the following hours, you can see the lower carb group has a higher nitrogen compound than the high carb group, and then they start flip-flopping in insignificant increments. And even in the study itself that he linked, they say, yes, the lower carb group dipped first, but overall, they were the same. Nitrogen balance is more dictated by your protein intake than it is by any other macronutrient. Maybe there is a hormonal shift that happens with other macronutrients being introduced, but there definitely isn't any major significant difference because of a high carb or low carb diet, or even a high fat or low fat diet. So there was a little hint there of him misleading his audience. So yes, unfortunately, Vegan Gains is wrong about intermittent fasting. And I want to thank my patrons for my Patreon, and I'm going to put their names right up here. And of course, as always, I'll see you on Sunday for another FAQ. Peace!